Hi, this is Professor Lilly, and what I want to do in this video is give you an overview of what we're going to be doing in modules 2 and 3. Um, just to give you some context of where we are. So right now it is Friday and afternoon, and so we're at the end of module 1, which lasted 2 weeks. So right now the discussion forum is in full swing, and we're talking about beyond user-centric models and fans online articles. Earlier, we talked about some of the readings from this immediacy issue. So Module 1 will wrap up this weekend for those of you who haven't posted much in the discussion forum. And on this upcoming Monday, Module 2 will start up. Modules 2 and 3 are connected, but each one is just 1 week long. So you'll start out next week reading this reading here on clinical research, which basically talks about the use of qualitative data collection tools like interviews and focus groups in research with real human subjects. And then I have this video here that's a video of me talking about the reading. And so, in fact, if you want to, if it helps you out, you could watch the video first and actually go into the PDFs in the video and highlight certain aspects of it, talk about certain concepts I want you to get out of it, and then you could do the reading if you find that to be make more sense for you. And then after you do that, I want you to come in here and read chapter 2 from this book called Qualitative Inquiry. And I used to, a few years ago, require students in this course to buy this book, but the book really goes into far more depth than you really need for this course. It talks a lot about the methodologies, which is really the philosophy behind how scholars or researchers use these data collection tools. And so I don't think we really needed to go that far into that philosophy. That's more on chapter 3. So I'm requiring you to read chapter 2, but chapter 3 and 4 are both optional. And chapter 4 gives examples of how of specific research studies that have used these methodologies. And and then I have a longer video here that talks about these chapters. So again, you could, if you're finding chapter 2 to be kind of confusing, you could watch the video first and then go back and read it. And the video also talks about chapters 3 and 4. And if you find the video to be instructive or useful about those chapters, then you can go back and read them. So then by the end of that week, and one thing I want to reiterate is that the course is designed so that you don't have to do work on any given day. So if you can't do reading on Monday, that's fine. You could do it Tuesday or Wednesday night or whatever works for your schedule. So by the end of the week or next weekend, when you've watched the videos and done the reading, I want you to come into this voice thread here. And the voice thread is where I want you to tell me which data collection tool you want to do more research on the next week in Module 3. And you see here we have this data collection tool wiki. And there's instructions here, and I'll get into that in a second on how to do that. But basically the idea is 2 or 3 of you together will be doing more research on how researchers use, for example, focus groups to get information, data on the topics they want to study. So if you come into here on the voice thread, and there's a link here, and let's see if it works. This is Professor Lilly. So for this voice thread, all I want you to do is choose which data collection tool that you want to research more, and you'll post that research on the data collection tool wiki, which is for Module 3. And so the idea, so I have a survey here, and then interviews and focus groups, a case study in ethnography, which is also called participant observation. So just comment on whichever slide is for the data tool that you want to research more. And then you and let's say 3 people choose qualitative survey, which is this slide. And then for module 3, and I'll give you directions for it, you'll do research and post what you find on how to do a qualitative survey. You'll post what you found out about that on the data collection tool wiki. Okay, so I'm just posting this so as an explanation, and then also if you can talk about why you chose that tool and how you think it might be useful for learning about the emerging media user group that you are interested in studying for this semester. All right, thank you. Bye. Okay, so yeah, I have that little instructional there. So let's say you don't want to do. I have a visual here, and if you look up top, it says qualitative survey. And then the next slide is interviews. And so if you choose to focus on in-depth interviews, you would just comment on this one and not the other slides. And then the next slide is case study. The next one is focus groups. And lastly, ethnography / participant observation. That's just in certain disciplines, they call it ethnography. And then others that are a little bit more clinical, social sciences, they would call similar a method participant observation. Okay, so you only comment on one of these, and so ideally, let's say there's 2 people in the class who think they want to use participant observations / ethnography as their method for their research study this semester. Then we would have 2 comments here, and it's just meant to be informal, partially to kind of say this is the one the method I'm going to choose, and then also to talk a little bit about why you think this one might work out for you in terms of for your study. And you can also mention if there's anything interesting you thought about the reading or something confusing, you can say it here, because we're not doing a discussion forum this week. So let me migrate back to, let's see, the course. Okay, so that's that. That's it for module 2. So again, you'll be doing that voice thread by the end of module 2. And then module 3 will be the week that starts October 3rd. Again, it'll last 1 week. And the first activity will be for you to participate in this data collection tool wiki. I chose a wiki because ideally 2 or 3 of you will be working or studying each one of these particular data collection methods or tools. And so the wiki is the best for kind of doing group work. So I've given instructions, I'll show you the link, but under module 3, instructions for how to do this. And so basically, and I don't want there to be too much overlap. So let's say one student is doing qualitative online or qualitative surveys, and they find some good information and they put in a few paragraphs here with some links. And then later on, the second student who also chose this method to do some research on or find some information on how to do it, then they can kind of fill in the gaps. So let's say someone found out information on this, but they didn't talk too much about how to do this online, for example, or you found some other resources that the first student didn't include. So you can kind of fill in some of the gaps. And if you're not sure, about that, then you can always email me or arrange a phone call and we can talk about it. So I've gone ahead there and let's see, where do we go? Added the 5 topics. So you would just go in to whichever one of these pages you chose the tool to do a little bit of research. So basically the idea here is you're finding out how do people use this particular data collection tool to get information for research studies. Okay, so, and then The second thing to do, and again, these are all covered where it says activities for, there's a lot of information here, so I didn't want to put it on the main page. So it talks about what to do for the research instrument wiki. And then the second thing you'll do that week is your mini lit review. And so basically, at this point, you should have a pretty good sense of what your topic's going to be for your research study this semester. And the lit review is just meant to be where you're going out and finding information on that topic, okay? So in here in the guidelines, I said, let's see, find at least 5, let's see, somewhere I say, yeah, 5 sources. And I want at least 1 or 2 of these to be academic sources. Okay, so what do I mean by that? And I've gone ahead and given a example. So if you click on, so this is supposed to be says here lit review blog. So you click on there and you would add it as a post there. And I've given 1 example. So this is from last semester. And let's see, so go ahead and say what your topic is in 1 sentence. And that's productive for you to kind of be able to like hone yourself down to making yourself say, okay, here's what I want to do in 1 sentence. And it's instructive for me also to be able to help you to maybe narrow down your topic if you need to. And it could be in sentence form, so you can write 1 or 2 sentences for a couple sentences for each resource you find, or in bulleted form here. First Monday here is an academic journal that I'm familiar with. And to be honest, I don't feel like you have to put full citations. You can if you want. I definitely think it's useful. Links along with the title would be fine. And then Cassidy has chosen to do bullet form. And some of these could be, a lot of your topics, your emerging media platforms you want to study are very new. So you might be finding experts, like another one. One of my students found a lot of Pew Research studies where they're doing really big surveys, which I would consider to be academic. And so there's a lot of stats. So industry type research on if you're studying a really new app, then you can just find a expert blogger or a research outlet, industry research outlet that's talking about how much money is this app making and what's the idea behind this app, and what are people's experiences of it so far. So basically, you're giving the context to myself, and you're also basically preparing for your final presentations of your research projects, where you're talking to a kind of general audience and presenting, here's the information I found out about this particular topic, and then here's the data from the actual original research that you yourself have done. So anyway, I've given you and go ahead and include links. You can put, if you found some infographics, some graphs, then you can go ahead and embed them, or maybe a useful instructional video on YouTube, then you can embed that here, and the blog2 tool makes that really easy. Okay, and then the last thing I want you to do, let's see, is it mentioned in the activities, is, let's see. Yeah, the last thing is near the end of this module, I want you to make sure you set up a meeting with me to just talk about your research topic. Okay, so I just want to talk it through with you so that which is instructive or useful for you to kind of talk to someone about it, and I might be able to add, give you some suggestions to narrow it down, or help you to think through what kind of tool you're going to use if you're not sure at that point. So as it says here, the meeting can be, some of you live near campus or in Baltimore, so you can come to campus and meet with me here, or we can do a Skype or some other type of video call or phone call, any of these. I just want, and you could even, if it's difficult, we can even have a series of emails, but just some sort of contact where we're talking through what you're planning to do. And then the 4th module, I haven't put any really information in here because I'm still thinking about, if I want to modify it from last semester. But that will be where you actually give me a research proposal and saying in a more formal way, here's what I want to do. Okay, so anyway, this is just an overview of the next 2 weeks starting next Monday. If you have any questions, you can certainly email me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you find out about some of these research methods that we might be using. And one thing to note about the wiki, if you choose to use a different data collection method, that's fine. I mean, and the useful thing, let's say you end up choosing to participate in the focus group wiki, and you get information on that, and then you decide, you know what, I'd rather do a series of in-depth interviews, or I'd rather do a qualitative survey, then you can come back to this wiki and get a lot of information on how to do it. And for focus groups and in-depth interviews, I do have 2 articles here. So you can go, those people doing those topics in the wiki can certainly and should read these articles, and you can go ahead and cite them in your wiki as well. Okay, so take care, have a good weekend, and I'm looking forward to moving into Module 2.